Okay, part 3. Before we get going, it's become apparent I've made a complete faux pas. The CAD drawings are available directly from Joshua. Once you purchase the plans, you just ask him for them and he'll send them to you. So if you want to get them cut by laser, just ask. So I've made myself an awful lot of work for not just reading the description right the way to the bottom. So it's my fault, but anyway, we got there in the end. We're on the homeward stretch, sort of, and I've done a little bit to the ear since part 2. I just broke away the tack, pulled the whole lot out, and then welded it back up. It just needed to come out further, which it couldn't do the way it was tacked. So anyway, what's next? Right, this piece, I've sort of lined it up to where I think it needs to be bent, and I've just put the Sharpie mark on there, and it sort of appears to need to be fairly tight on the inside there, but a fairly broad sweep on the outside, probably even higher than that top Sharpie mark. So let's see if I can do it. I've also, just broken the tacks on the nostrils as well, because I really think they need to be further out, but that's for later once we've got this ear done. So let's see what we can do. I've cut a V in a block of wood, and I'm just going to use a cross pane and just give it a little tap it round, see if I can get what I think needs to be the right shape. As I say, this whole project has been a bit hit and miss. It's been really good doing it, but it is a bit hit and miss. I'm hoping that it's going to help you. So I'm just going to check that up against the head, and it's not quite right, but we need a bit of shape in this way as well, because it's sort of nowhere near. And I still didn't find my other hammer. Don't know where it's gone. Right, so just put a little bit of shape in there. That's probably nowhere near again, but let's go and try it up against. Right, so it's got this big gap here now. So I think what I'm going to do is tack it all and then hammer that bit in, because I could spend all day fiddling about trying to get it to fit spot on. So I think the best way is just tack it and hammer it, to be honest. That fits in that hole rather nicely, so that should be pretty good. Now I'm just going to put a tack right up close to where it's going to bend, so it doesn't bend the wrong way. I don't know if you can see that distance there, or the two positions. That ear that I'm doing looks like it needs to go back a bit to match the other one. I'm not quite sure how to do it, to be honest. I think we'll knock that bit in first. I'm trying to keep my blows to the edges, so we're not damaging the actual surfaces too much. A certain amount of it will be able to be ground out, but I don't want to put great big dings and dents in it. So we're just tapping that bit back in. Easier if I lay this down. quite sure which way that ear needs to go. Oh, I'll get the right, something that will grip it. Pair of decent pliers. And try and lever it. No, I think it's just going to be a big hammer. I'll just knock this down a little bit so you can see a bit better. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a case of hammering it till it does what it's told. There you can see that's much better. Look at that, a couple of taps. And that's sort of getting towards where it needs to be. We'll get there. I'm hoping if I can get the outsides sort of right, that bit, the bit on the inside nearest the middle of the head, that bit there, will sort of sort itself out. What am I looking for? Something to hit it with. Just checking, see how square it is with the other one. Get you up again. So I want to get a pair of ears. So I'm just checking that this bit's gone back far enough to get this ear in to match the other one. Where's the other bit? This bit, I've put a little bit of shape in it, and I think what I'm going to do is start tacking that in from the back, and then hopefully just sort of squeeze all the top bits together, because that's sort of where it needs to go, but as you can see it's got completely the wrong shape in it. So yeah, I think that's going to be my yeah, my next move. It's going to be put that in, I think. There's a lot of brain scratching going on here. Might not look it from the video, but I'm thinking 20 to the dozen. Yeah, that's... Again, I want to just make sure that I get a pair. I don't want a lopsided horse. Let's put... No, can't get another tack in there. What am I going to do? Come on, Gary, get your act together. What am I going to do? Put that bit in or not? Put some shape in it or not? I really didn't realise when I was doing this how much thinking I was doing and not much working. Right, I've had another think, another cup of tea, and I'm going to do exactly what I said before. I'm going to put this in and then try and squeeze the tops together. Amazing what a cup of tea can do. Crystallises your thoughts. Now there on the desk you can see my cheat sheet that I was talking about in the last video. There's two pages there, so I've got like 6 drawings or 6 screenshots, and they have really helped throughout this. They really have. Alright, so I've tacked that inner piece of the ear on, Of course, out of shot, but I'm just trying to get that junction at the front to match, so we get a pair of ears. Right, you can see now that they're sort of where they need to be. I'm just going to keep gently tapping and tacking until we finally get there. See if we can get a clamp on that one. Yeah, that's got that. Oh, of course it's top heavy. Putting plenty of tacks on, because when I'm bashing it about, I don't want it to, all these tacks to spring loose, so I've put quite a few on. And as you can see, that's coming together much better. I'm still mindful of getting a pair. Alright, so just that last bit on that inside. Oh, I'm alight. Set myself alight. I can feel my arm burning. I ought to have put my welder's jacket on today, but it's so cold in here. Trying to keep myself warm. I'm sure Joshua didn't have this in mind, beating the crap out of it to get it to fit, but it's working. Sort of. Come on, Gary, get a grip. Right, we're nearly there. It's almost closed up. Another couple of little taps, which I'm sorry you can't see, but you probably get the idea of what I'm doing. Just checking again to see if they're a pair, and they don't look too bad so far. Don't look bad at all. Three dimensions isn't something I'm used to working in, really. Right, I think we've got ourselves a pair of ears. Obviously the one on the left I've put a lot more weld on. But yeah, I think they'll pass as a pair. So now let's concentrate on the nostrils. As you can see where I've broken the tacks off, just prised them open a little bit to get this bit on. Now, how it's got to go like that, obviously, with the longest point down on the outside. But I'm sure this front bit and that bit have got to have a bit of shape in them. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to put the shape in. So I'm going to start on the V block, see if I can figure it out. But I think what's going to happen is I'm going to need to sort of almost stretch it on one certain angle, or no, certain place, because I think it needs to be straight at the bottom there. That piece that I'm straightening back out again, I think that needs to be fairly straight, but the front needs to be quite round, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it without actually just sort of stretching it. But I think that's nowhere near. Just checking it up against it. No, it's nowhere near. That bit definitely needs to be straighter, and that needs to be rounder. I'm not quite sure the best way to do it. And plus, it's so tiny, trying to hold on to it while you're shaping it is pretty tricky. Let's have another try up against it. Right. I've done a lot of hammering, banging and fiddling, and of course I forgot to put the camera back on, but that one's on. And there's a big blob of weld in the top there because the bottom bit didn't quite reach. So I've had to fill up a little hole. But I'm going to have try a different method on the other nostril of shaping it. Now I've just held it in the vise so that bottom edge stays, the long edge stays straight. I've clamped a bolt, that 1/2 inch bolt, to the front of it, and I'm just going to tap the other half over and just see if that is any better, because it took me forever banging round and then straightening and banging round and straightening on that other piece. Let's take a look at that. Now that's not too bad, it's not brilliant, but it's sort of there. So I think again what I'm going to do, apart from that bit needs to come round, I'll try and get that somewhere near. Oh, focus, zoom the wrong way. I want to try and get that somewhere near, and then I'll do what I've done with a lot of the other parts, is just tack it where it fits and then hammer it to fit the rest of it. This is quite good. I'm really enjoying this because it's not straightforward. It's not just literally a kit where you get all the pieces and stick them together. You've really got to think about things and shape bits and pieces to get them right. And I like that. I think it's quite what's the word? Stimulating to get your mind to try and think in all these different directions. See, that's pretty good. That's like the other one. There's going to be a little gap at the top, which I will fill up, but it's pretty close. Close enough for me, I think, to tack it and then give it a tap. Again, I'm just checking that they're going to be fairly much a pair. I don't want one nostril up halfway up its face and the other one halfway down its face. Symmetry is everything. It's a nice size, this head. It's a good size to work with, and it's a nice size for when it's finished. It's going to be a real nice, decent size. And I think had it been much smaller, it would have been an awful lot trickier to put together. So I think Joshua's really got his sizings right on this. Real good size. Now just knocking that nostril back to where it sort of came from, because I prized it open. Again, just checking for symmetry, and now I'm just going to fill that gap up the top there. So with this material, this 2mm, it's quite easy to fill up fairly large gaps. You know, even if you're not particularly good at welding, you can do it on this stuff. So we're just about there. I think it's fairly symmetrical. Zoom in on the nostrils. They look a bit messy there, but in real life they actually look much better than I expected. Much better. So by the time all that's welded up and blended in, I think that will look quite a nice little face. So, next job, I'm going to, before I weld it up fully, I'm going to grind off all the spots, spot welds, all the tacks, any bits of metal that are sticking out that shouldn't be there. Just smooth it all off because it makes welding it up so much easier. So I'm just running round this whole lot. Take all the spits and spots off. I make some equipment for the guy I work for, doing the white line, makes the white line equipment. And one of the things is a hopper made out of this 2mm, and that has a few bits welded here and there to add bits on and make extra spaces. And I've found over the years that doing this, just taking all the tacks off first, really makes welding it up easier. So there we go. That's got the worst of it off. There's still a few bits to do, but that's made things much smoother. The welding will go far better. So that'll be the next job. Right, welding day. Got my welding jacket on. I don't quite know where to start, but I guess at the bottom. I'm going to fast forward through a lot of this because you don't want to get bored with me welding. It's still going to take quite a lot of time. So whilst I'm boring you with welding, I'll try and fill you in with a few little gems that I've learnt whilst doing this. I had a message from Joshua the other day. He had watched the first part of the video and addressed a couple of the comments I'd made, and the nostril, the way I formed the nostril, basically what it needs to be is half a cone. So if you can imagine a cone and then cut it down the middle, not across the middle but down the middle, that's the sort of shape you're looking for. So I was sort of somewhere near, but not quite. So that's on that bit. I still found the ears the most tricky part of the whole job, although I think grinding it up is going to be pretty tricky. Not from any technical point of view, but I think getting in behind the ears, or in between the ears and around the back of the cheeks, is going to be pretty tricky. Bit of a challenge, but we'll get there, I'm sure. I don't think this actually took me all that long. I think it probably took about half an hour, 20 minutes, half hour, something like that, to get all the welding done. And luckily I didn't blow too many holes in it. I did blow a few holes, but not that many. It's really quite cold in here today, so I'm glad I got my welding jacket. I'm puffed up like a Michelin man because I've got loads of clothes on today because I was expecting it to be quite cold. So that's part of it. Let's see what else we've got. That is really hot now. Let's Let's try and position it. I'll tell you what, these magnets, the use of magnets for positioning and stuff is just, you can't go wrong. That red one I think was about £3 from the local market. I've got a couple of them. Neither of them cost me more than £5. The little mag switch yellow ones, they are much more expensive, but they are much more powerful, and you can turn them on and off. I use them a lot for picking up swarf off the floor. Like once I've done all this grinding, I shall go around the floor with those magnets switched on, and they will clear up the majority of the grinding dust. So they really are a cracking bit of kit. But those of you who have watched others of my videos, like my shoeing videos, will notice that I use a lot of magnets on my truck for holding shoes, holding tools, all sorts of stuff. I really like magnets. We're getting there. We're almost there, I think. Really dull outside today as well. You can tell it's really getting into winter now. Next thing will be the blooming snow. Heard on the forecast it's supposed to be the worst winter for 70 years coming up. I hope it isn't, because we live on a steep hill, which is always a pain. Anyway, I think we're done with the welding. Ta-da! We're done. So, what's the next job? Well, obviously it's the clearing up. Let's just have a little look at this. Welded up. I'll see if I can get you a close-up. Come round the back. And then you can all take the mickey out of my welding. Oh, of course it's not going to focus, is it? Well, sort of. I've learnt a few things for next time. I think you need to leave some of the pieces prouder, like the eyes especially, to keep some shape into them. And the nostrils need a little bit more weld round them, again, so you can get some shape into them. So, next job, grinding. Let's put a new wheel on, or new disc. It's got a nice ceramic disc here. Doesn't need a disc on the bottom or a thing on the bottom to clamp it on, it just screws on. Let's see how we get on. No, that's really hot still. I've only just finished welding it, and the whole thing is red hot. So that glove doesn't work very well, but it'll do. So I'm just going to go over with this one and take the worst of the welds off, and then I'll go over with a finer sort of sanding disc once this lot's off. So again, we'll speed you up, because you don't really want to sit and watch an hour of me grinding. It's difficult to know where to start. You sort of do a bit, then you see another bit, and you see another bit, and you do that, and then you've forgotten a bit, and you've got to sort of also try and keep the shapes. I'm trying again as well to keep things symmetrical. This is going to take me rather a long time, so I'll switch you off for now and I'll come back once I'm done, because this will bore you to death otherwise. Alright, this is 2 hours later, believe it or not. It's taken me 2 hours, and this is just the rough grind. Well, you can see it's the rough grind. It looks pretty messy, but all the weld is off. I've had to use, or had to fill in a couple of spots where there wasn't enough weld, or I needed just to raise it up a little bit. But overall, I didn't have to do much else, so I'm quite pleased. And believe it or not, I only used that one ceramic disc. They really are good. They last a hell of a long while. That's 2 hours grinding, and there's still a bit left on it. So it now needs tidying up, so it sort of looks, you can define the shapes a bit more, because at the moment all you can see is sort of wild grinding marks. But I'm sure we'll get there. Right, another hour later, so that's 3 hours clean up, and this was just with some finer discs and a bit of a sort of Scotch-Brite at the end, just running randomly over it. I've just realised I'm wearing somebody else's logo. Never mind. Bit of publicity for other channels. Can't go amiss. There you go. It's sort of okay. I'm fairly pleased with it. Not 100%, but I'm pretty pleased with it. Not quite sure what I'm going to finish it with though. So that's the end of the horse head build. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and I must once again thank Joshua for A, designing it, B, putting the plans online to be available, and for helping out with any little problems that I've had. So if you've enjoyed it and you want to have a go yourself, pop over to his Etsy site, download the plans and give it a go. There's two things that will help you. The first being the cheat sheets. Download some screen grabs off either my video or Joshua's video, print them out, keep them in the workshop with you, and they really will help. I couldn't have done without them. I started without them and I found myself really struggling. I kept going back to the video and I thought, this is ridiculous. So just download some screen grabs, sort you out a treat. The second thing that will help is if you've got a basic knowledge of horses, because you can tell where things should be going. If you haven't, it doesn't really matter, but it will help you if you have. And I suppose thirdly is a bit of basic metalworking. That will help, and if you can weld. So other than that, you know, piece of cake. What else? Yeah, I want to pick your brains really. I've been home for a little while now and I've been thinking about it, what finish I want to do with it. And I'd quite like to do sort of like a rusty finish. Now, I don't want to leave it outside for, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, let it go rusty and then try and clean it up and stop it going any further. And I seem to recall there's an awful lot of sort of like chemical patinas out there. I'm asking for your recommendations basically. If any of you know either home brew or commercially available patina type chemicals that will give me like a bit of a sort of rusty colour, either paint on, wipe on, spray on, whatever. So what I want to do, I don't want to cover the marks in it. I don't want to get it powder coated because that will just make it look like any old piece of junk that's come from China. I like the fact that there's grind marks in it, that there's bits of weld still showing. It looks sort of industrial still. And I don't want to hide that, so I don't really want to paint it, I don't want to powder coat it. I would like to just patina it, I suppose. A bit like the gun blue, you know, you wipe it on, it's as thin as anything, it goes blue, you wipe it off, that's it, done. You can still see what's underneath. So that's what I'm looking for, so leave some suggestions in the comments, and whoever's I decide on, once I use it, I'll take a photo, I'll stick it on my Instagram account, and I'll give whoever idea it was a shout out. So I think that's about it. Yeah, can't think of anything else. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the series, and we'll catch you on the next one. And just for giggles, hey Siri, beatbox for me.
Here's one I've been practicing. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots. I could do this all day. Cats and boots and 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 cats and boots.